Okay everybody, Tektalar here again with the 4th episode of the Heroes Appendix video series. Its purpose is to help newer and veteran players alike to fully understand the ins and outs of all the characters in Hero Wars Mobile. In today's video, we are reviewing the first place winner of the most recent vote amongst my patrons, and the only tank who recently received a new skin, Luther. Luther is an often underutilized tank with a high utility and happens to have the second highest armor in the game, only behind Ziri, and possesses the most invasive tank move kit as far as interfering with the enemy team's positioning and skills. Today we will look at the things that make him unique and why he just might be the right pick for your current team. In today's video we're going to be discussing his skills, how they visually appear, and their uses both practically and strategically, when to use Luther, when not to use him, his roles in the team, artifact priority order, skins, how to obtain them, how much investment is required to max and what benefits they offer you, and stat priority and what that means. First up is Luther's activatable skill, Omen, which is commonly referred to as his ultimate because this is the ability he can use once his yellow energy gauge is filled during battle. Luther grows bulkier and looks like a spaceship about to blast off before raising his hammer to the heavens, and the symbol for his skill image shows up in his wake as he hurtles into the sky and landing next to the furthest enemy hero from his current position, separating them from their allies and dealing damage to everyone around him. The damage ratio for this skill is minuscule, with a measly 10% physical attack ratio, which is one of the lowest in the game, which means any boost to his physical attack, either from artifact weapons or even Nebula, will basically not be worth considering as the central build for your strategy. The real benefit from this move is in how dynamically he shifts the positioning of both his and the enemy team. Some notable benefits of having him leap to the back line of the enemy team include, but are not limited to, breaking Martha's totem and disabling her self-heal completely, turning Anvario around so his second skill no longer protects the rear line enemies, which exposes them to Kark, separating midline heroes from a 5th position Dorian so they no longer get his aura, turning Kira around so she no longer ricochets her attacks to your whole team. Some things to consider are Faceless's slam will still pick up Luther from his current position deep within the enemy lines and drag him the distance of the battlefield back to his own team and drop him in the middle of them. Additionally, the other skills of Luther stun the enemies, so being so close to the enemy team, or having them grouped up, he could potentially stun the whole enemy team at the same time with multiple attacks consecutively. Luther's second skill is called Sentence. Luther will raise his hammer high and imbue it with fire or electricity depending on the skin he has equipped, and slam it into the enemy closest to him, as an area of effect hit, meaning if other enemies are nearby they will also be struck, dealing minor damage less than his basic attack, and stunning the enemy. Once in the middle of the enemy team, Luther will wreak havoc with this skill because it can disrupt desperately needed heals or buffs for the rest of the enemy team. If uninterrupted, he will use this skill approximately after every 4 attacks. Sometimes it's after 3, sometimes 5, but the average should be 4. Luther's third skill is called Gehenna. It is a passive skill which is tied to his ultimate skill Omen, stating that whichever enemies are in front of him when he lands, meaning the rear enemy unit, they will be stunned and dealt physical damage. The enemies behind him will just be pushed slightly towards the front of the team. This skill is signified by a small wave of fire or electricity, depending on the skin that's equipped, being emitted off of him when he lands after he uses his first skill. This skill has a pathetic damage ratio again, so Luther isn't meant to be a big damage dealer. His main role is tanking and control. Luther's violet skill is called Doctrine of Faith. It increases Luther's total magic defense by 1000. That's it. Of all his skills, this is the one that probably needs a rework for relevance. After artifacts were released, this 1000 value became a very minor benefit. Let's take a deeper look now and see when you should be using Luther. Number 1 is with an off tank. This ensures that when he abandons the team after using his first skill, that the team is still ultimately protected from unwanted chip damage. Notable off-tanks include Anvari, Marcus, and Krista. If you want a really strong tank, he's one of the few whose armor is not fully penetrated by Kira without Sebastian or Jet's help. If your team has skills that might group up the enemy, such as Lars's Tornado, Maya's Root, Faceless's Slam, Fox's Knockback, etc. And last but not least, if you need a way to help negate a backline Martha, separate backline heroes from Dorian, turning Kira around to stop her ricochet, or if you wanted to turn Anvari around to remove his backline protection. Now we'll take a look at when you should be avoiding Luther in your team. First up is if you don't have an off-tank or multiple healers, you should try to have at least one of these two sets of things with Luther. And lastly, if you don't need his intrusive skill kit to win the fight. If another tank skill set would be more beneficial, then you should consider not using Luther. Now we'll briefly discuss his role in the team, which is one-dimensional. His role is to tank for the team, period. He can take hits like no other and redirect the damage focus of the enemy team to deep within their own ranks, making him a unique addition to any team. He recently got a health skin, solidifying his ability to live through some hits that might have previously killed him, and not requiring as much healing to survive. Luther will still be pretty hit or miss for you depending if you build the right type of team with him. However, if you have the right type of team with him, with an off-tank and healer, Marcus fills both of those roles nicely. Luther is one of those tanks people hate to see because they know it's going to be an annoying fight. Next we'll discuss artifact priority, which means which artifact is the most important to level up first. Since Luther's armor is so high and he has the ability to exceed all damage dealer's armor penetration, his first artifact to level should be his book. This ensures his armor is as high as possible and will set the bar for the enemy team, that if they don't raise their armor penetration as much as you do your armor, then they will do negligible damage. Second up is the artifact weapon, which will help enable your defensive or turtle phase. This will bide enough time for the healers to get him back to strength to ensure he's still alive and kicking for the rest of the battle. Last, but certainly not least, is his ring, which is 25% of his total health, so while it's very important, it doesn't have as significant a threshold you need to break like his mitigation will, so it brings up the rear. In this segment, we'll be discussing his skins, which are mostly easy to obtain, as 2 out of 3 are available to purchase using a skin certificate in the shop. Only his recently released cybernetic skin is not possible to obtain currently until they make it available through the opening of chests in the Outland. The top priority skin is his angel skin, which was released during the November event in November 2018. It costs a little over 50,000 skin stones to max and yields 10,650 armor, which ensures he sets that previously mentioned bar for damage dealers to try to keep up with their armor penetration. The second in priority is his cybernetic skin, which was released in June of 2020 and offers him up to 106,645 additional health. This is valued at approximately 17% of his total possible maximum health and is key to his survival late game. The third in priority is his default skin, which costs approximately 30,000 skin stones to max and yields him 1,365 strength, which equates to 1,365 physical attack and 54,600 health. The lowest in priority is his stellar skin, which costs just over 50,000 skin stones to max and is obtainable by purchase with the skin scrolls from the store. This yields 7,095 physical attack, which helps him be one of the strongest physical attack of all the tank units, which can help him in killing backline units, but isn't his main focus by any means, and should be left for one of the last skins you raise for your entire team. In our final segment, we will now be discussing glyph stat priority. So what this means is of all the stats your hero can get, which ones are the most important for you to upgrade to yield the best results first. The first up is armor, which gives just over 3,300 armor. Just like his artifact book and weapon, this will ensure he's mitigating as much physical damage as possible, since he's in harm's way more than any other unit in the game. The second glyph up is health. It gives 30,800 and, like his armor, helps ensure that he's able to take as many hits as possible. Since his magic defense doesn't surpass any magic user's penetration, who is actually a good attacking unit, it's better to focus on health here since it offers a buffer against magic and physical attacks. The third glyph to choose is his strength. He gains 560 strength and yields 560 physical attack and 22,400 health. The fourth glyph to choose is his magic defense. He gains 3,300 magic defense. It's not quite as necessary as his armor, but still has its uses, although most magic users will still pierce his defenses. The fifth and final glyph to choose is his physical attack, which adds 2,240 damage. There's not much to say beyond that. He needs raw damage, but not as much as everything else, since his role revolves around mitigation, damage soak, and enemy control. Okay everybody, hopefully you found this video informative and you liked the way I presented the information to you. If you do, please like, follow, and subscribe to my channel. Another thing to consider is recommending my content to your friends as well if you know they yearn for knowledge of the game. Since these videos are private, word of mouth is how they will get spread. Also, for a large and active Hero Wars community, join my Facebook group called Hero Wars Mobile Community, The GOAT. The link will be in the video description. Thanks for watching.